So today we will start talking about music history and cultures. So the evolution of music. It is thought that the history of music is as old as the history of man. The first music may have been conceived in Africa and then evolved to become a fundamental constituent of human life as the people migrated to different parts of the world. Music is played and listened to all over the world. However, the attitude towards music, musical players, and composers differ between regions and also between time periods. Some cultures, musicians are revered as spiritual leaders, and others they are thought of as mere entertainers. Most probably, the first musical instrument was a human voice. Prehistoric era. Music produced in the prehistoric era is also called prehistoric music. Earliest form of music was most likely the human voice, and the earliest instruments were probably percussion, drum-like instruments where sticks and animal skins were used extensively. These instruments are thought to have been used in various spiritual and or religious ceremonies. There was no notation or writing left over for this kind of music, and its sound can only be extrapolated from the music of South American Indians, African natives who still adhere to some of the ancient religious practices. Prehistoric music likely stems from naturally occurring sounds and rhythms. Ancient musical era. So the next that was developed was called the ancient musical era. The oldest song that we have was written in the cuneiform script dating to about 4,000 years ago. The word cuneiform means wedge-shaped, and it is one of the earliest known system of writings known by its wedge-shaped clay marks on clay tablets. By 4000 BC, the Egyptians had created the harps and the flutes, which we find by the hieroglyphs that we find in Egyptian tombs, and by 3500, the double reed clarinets had been developed. The history of musical development in present-day Iran dates back to prehistoric era. The great legendary King Jamshid is credited with the invention of music. So now let's talk about the evolution of music in the world. So the first musical historically that we find are Greek music, which is very diverse and can be separated into two basic parts, traditional and Byzantine. So Greek music, men usually perform choruses for entertainment, celebration, and spiritual reasons. Greek instruments included, amongst others, strings, winds, and percussions, as shown here. Next to develop music were Romans, and in the music of ancient Rome was part of the Roman culture and religious practices. Music was customary at all funerals, and a tibia, a wind instrument, was played at sacrifices to ward off evil instruments. Music was an integral part of every social occasion, from events in the arena to expressive dancing and to the early form of the story ballet. Roman musical instruments include string, wind, percussion, and organ, and these are some of the different instruments that are associated with the Roman culture and Roman musical instruments. Next were Muslims. The history of civilization, Islam stands as a cultural link between the Dark Ages and the Renaissance period. Islam spread over a quarter of then known geographical world and gave rise to a specific mode of lifestyle and became for all observers a central idea to live by. This included areas where currently Arabs, Turk, Kurds, Persian, Armenian, Syrian, Egyptian, Greek, and some part of the subcontinent people live. Two lands culture especially played a prominent role in the music of this new civilization, especially for the people coming from the east and the people coming from the west merging together in order to form a very specific kind of music. Next in the evolution were the Renaissance. So the music written in Europe during the Renaissance period from about 1400 to about 1600 AD. Music of this period was significantly influenced by changing ideas about the value of all human life, recovery of the artistic heritage of the ancient Greek and Rome, with the growth of commercial economics. Relative political stability and prosperity in Europe, along with a flourishing system of music education in many churches, allowed the training of hundreds of singers and composers. These musicians were highly sought, and particularly in Italy, where they were hired as composers and teachers. Another thing that influenced the development of music very, very quickly was the development of printing, which made the distribution of music and musical notes on a wide scale. By the end of 16th century, Italy had absorbed northern influence, and opera began in Florence as a deliberate attempt to resurrect the music of ancient Greek. So music, for the first time during this era, became self-sufficient, existing for its own sake, and composer of the time found ways to make music theirs. Many modern familiar instruments, including the violin, the guitar, keyboard instruments, were born and developed to some extent during the Renaissance period. The next main part of music development were the modern music, which included the Baroque era, the Classical era, and the Romantic era, which led now to the development of truly modern era, which began somewhere around 1890 and 1930. So the 20th century saw an evolution in music listening as the radio gained popularity worldwide and new media came into play. Technologies were developed to record, capture, reproduce, and distribute music. Musical performances became increasingly visual with the broadcast and recording of studios and concerts. Music of all kinds became increasingly portable. And that developed modern orchestra. The world was becoming a global village. The influences from various cultures, music was becoming a universal language shared across many cultures and many civilizations. Another very important part of music was music and religion. So music and religion throughout the history have gone together very well, starting from the Jewish music and all the way to African and Native American music. So Jewish music representation includes the harp and the shofar. Christian music, the gospel hymns are an example. Islamic musicians are also part of the Islamic world where music is important. Native American culture is also where a lot of music and spirituality comes through dance, and African culture as well. So music, people, and religion have coexisted since the beginning of the dawn of history.